What a marathon, man. But we are live. I'm Celso and Erik, section 128. I'm here with Erik Holstrom. How you doing, buddy? Great to see you. We're going to be talking a ton of LAFC for the next hour, but I want to just slow down and say, first of all, what's going on, Erik? I see you have a different background. No scarves today, buddy. Where are you talking to us from?
Well, I'm currently in the Midwest right now, working on my move. The scarves are packed in a box, but I will be back there for our home match on the 27th, which will be my last home match as a Los Angeles resident. So I'll try to be there for the tailgate. Maybe wants to say hey and burn one and all that, drink one, whatever. But yeah, just
Which one is that, man? Which match is going to be St. Louis, right?
yeah, the 27th.
Okay. All right. Well, then, look, man, it's your last match here, and I think that deserves a little bit of pause. We have time today because we already talked about the first match, but first off, I really wanted to commend you for being a humongous LAFC fan. I met you a few years ago when I was just starting my LAFC journey, and you were a committed season ticket holder already, sitting at section 128, and it's impressive that you stuck with it. A lot of people give Major League Soccer no chance in this country. You see the comments coming from everywhere, man. And it's really cool to see your growth. I know you didn't come from soccer, too. And
No,
just wanted to
man.
take 2, 3 minutes to talk to you about, your move away from LA. I'm really sad. I'm not going to lie. I've thought about that a lot. I've lost a lot of friends that moved out. But I know it's for a good cause, man. But I really want to just wish you
Yeah.
all the best out there, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, and luckily, I think this position is a pretty good one. I still have family back in LA, so I will still be visiting quite often, especially when we have big games. I know the wife and I will probably take trips back just to specifically make LAFC games, and we'll have
Mm.
some road games to hit and all that. I mean, I'm never going to
Mm.
stop bleeding black and gold no matter where I go. It's
You
like
better
this.
not. You
No,
better
man.
not.
When I went to my very first LAFC game, which was I want to say it was March 8th, 2018, if I remember
Okay.
correctly, against the Seattle Sounders. I didn't even know what offsides was in soccer. Like I grew up playing hockey and baseball, so I knew hockey offsides, and soccer offsides I didn't quite get it. So that's how far I've
Ooh.
come with my fandom for this team. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean I'm a diehard soccer fan now, and especially LAFC. That's my number one. I remember getting mad when we get players called up for the national team during league play, and I just like fuck these guys, like fuck the national team, like play the league. This is way more important than the national team.
Who
And
are
so
you taking my players, bro?
we
Look,
need we need Kellen Acosta.
and you've learned a lot. To say that what 5, 6, 7 years after you're having a weekly conversation about the sport.
Yeah,
Your takes are on it. I don't think you are too far off. Like what some of the real pundits, right, the pros would say. And man, if you ever like to tail some results. You're more right than wrong, if you like to bet on, especially a particular right scores, which is a very tough bet to get right. And you seem to have a pretty good knack on that. Not to mention that you got the MLS Cup bet when LAFC was not even a favorite, and you capitalize on that. I believe it paid you your at least one of your season tickets, man. But look, man, what a
oh
journey!
yeah,
What a journey! We've had some good ones together. We've had some good El Tráficos together. Those are my favorite memories. The away games are always so much fun,
oh
as crazy as they
how
are.
about real Salt Lake missing the flight in the airport?
Well, well, look. We like to smoke a little bit and have fun. So it's very classic behavior that we
Oh
would
no,
do that, and it
oh
was good. It was a great drive home that got us to really learn about each other too, right?
yeah, exactly. Since I want to kind of prolong talking about this last game, which I think is almost like not even worth talking about. There are aspects of it, but yeah, with this game, Celso and I, we went to Salt Lake. It was an away day. Gareth Bale scored a really nice goal that game, and we were out there. I remember we got tickets were like $120 round trip, and like the hotel was like $100 in downtown, and so we were kind of just like this is a very cheap away day. It's affordable. Like, let's do it. We went to it. There's also a great bar and restaurant scene in downtown Salt Lake City. So we went to some, nice little steakhouse, some nice whiskey bars, etc.
Yeah.
Had a great time. Met up with 42 Originals as well. Shout out to Keaton. Hashtag unban Keaton. Free Keaton. Let's go.
Oh, shit.
And so, anyways, we went to the game. The next day, Celso and I go to the airport. We're like, after such a whirlwind trip, we're like, okay, we're gonna stop and have a couple drinks in the bar here. And we were having some drinks, and then we went to our flight and somehow completely missed it. Like, we were checked in and all that. And we show up at the gate, and they're like, oh, yeah, the plane left 20 minutes ago. And we're just like, they were like, we were calling you guys. We saw you guys running by. I thought it was you guys. I think we went and sat at the wrong gate or something like that. But anyways, by the time we realized it, our flight had been gone for 20 minutes, and we're just like, our wives are going to fucking kill us. And
you were very worried, and it was bad.
We waited
Let's
2
keep it
hours
at that.
to transfer. Yeah, and then at the end, we rented a car and we did a one-way rental. We drove for like 10 and a half hours and got home at like 4 a.m. And
I know.
That was that.
Yeah, it was great. So two things about it. First, I blame Gareth Bale for that ridiculous goal that he scored at that game, which completely changed the panoramic of what I thought of him. Because you saw the real stardom on him, and he didn't do much for us, but he did do two things. He scored that goal and gave us a title, right?
He ran all the way down the left sideline, and then made a move on two defenders and cut up and like left-footed it in, and it was just world class
guy. So and again, so we had a little bit of snafu. We get on a plane, and then I realized that you're 6 hours from Vegas, right? If you drive from Salt Lake City, so not too bad. We did this. We get home, and everything was fine, and then it wasn't. But then it was fine. So it was an adventure. The things that you tell, and we tell all of y'all this because away games matter. And Erik's now going to be in another state, cross-pollinating MLS in a state that doesn't have a pro team, and you have an opportunity to be wearing your jersey and make conversation about it. I have no clue what kind of Major League Soccer fans you might encounter where you are. Maybe none, right? I don't think that it permeated anywhere. Any of the local teams in the central of the country have permeated enough to get to you, right, outside of the local market. So you're gonna be having like this. Hey, what's this jersey? And might get some flack for being from LA. But I know you don't have any other sports allegiances to LA, but.
No. The big sports here is obviously it's Oklahoma, OU.
Oklahoma City Thunder, right? So you got a basketball team, and that's about it.
Yep, there's that as well.
And then you got the Sooners, which play college football.
The closest MLS team is Dallas, which is 2.5 hours away. Right. And there's a bit of a rivalry between Oklahoma and Texas, so I haven't seen any Dallas jerseys. But they do have a USL team starting next season here, so I'll probably check that out. But otherwise, I mean, if they play when LAFC's on, no chance,
Black and gold, baby. But look, we stalled this puppy enough here.
All right.
Congrats, Erik. And let's get this show on the road here. There's two things we need to talk about. We will talk about the Houston game because it's worth mentioning at the very least. But I think it was great that we had an additional day to at least digest what happened this weekend once again. Another loss for LAFC, another loss to Houston, another loss on the road. We will have hopefully better Herons join us today to talk about the Inter Miami game, which is really the big number of this week, the big thing that we want to talk about. But first, let's talk about regular season. LAFC does not look good. We had a pretty good conversation last week, and I've made the assertion that this is a mid-table type team. They don't look anything better than maybe the 15th best team in the league. And once again, we go to Houston, which seems to have our numbers at all times. I looked up the numbers between Ben Olsen and, outside of that playoff game 2 years ago, Erik, only losses, man, like 0-8, something really bad against Houston that I don't see. They even came to BMO and destroyed us. So let's start there, man. Like, you basically told me the best thing about the game was what? No one got hurt. Are you really into that mentality that it really matters zero at this point, given the game this week?
For me, 100%. And I also, Yeah, other than nobody getting hurt, I also tweeted, as long as if we keep the loss under 5-0, I'm cool with it. I think if it would have been a 6 or 7-0, I'd feel a little bit something, but up to that,
Of course.
and for me, you have to look back to our 2023 CCL run, where it was Dolo's second season, and we were nonstop talking about why won't he rotate guys. He would roll the best 11 out every game. He had the best 11 play like 14 weeks in a row, 2 games a week, and he would just somebody get a strain and they go out, and that's it. And it was almost like the beatings will continue until morale improves. And we were really crazy about that. I remember we watched a 30-minute thing with the sports science people where they really went over their whole strategy for load management. And, okay, it kind of made sense, but we just wouldn't get, even before a big game, and before derbies as well, like they wouldn't put a good rotation into the squad. And I was getting super angry about that. And this year, if there's anything, I think he's almost probably rotating the squad more than he needs to. So for me, after going through that, hey, we're in CCC, we're playing Miami, we're up 1-0 on this. Our squad looks pretty well rested considering the circumstances, considering that they have to travel to the East Coast. They stayed in Houston. Like, the way they're managing this, I don't think there's any, for me personally, this is what I would do if I was in that position as well. I maybe would have played Bouanga and Martinez a little bit less against Houston, but I mean, that's really splitting hairs because both of those guys can run practically 2,000 minutes a year each.
And Messi played the whole game. They had guys at Inter Miami that played the whole game. So I think that most soccer players, if you have a game on the weekend, playing on Wednesday is not the worst thing, and it's expected. Champions League, you're paying. That's the pace, and it almost might help you to be on the field twice a week. Cherundolo said one thing that stuck with me during that season was, look, whether I give guys the shift in training or during a game, it really doesn't matter. And that was him talking 2 years ago. What matters is that they're getting their 45 minutes or 30 minutes, because they're going to do that in practice anyway. So why not get it in game? So Major League Soccer then becomes a good scrimmage for what comes during the week. And if you rested the guys, right, you lose some of that cohesion, which I still don't see with LAFC. And that's my concern, Erik. Whereas Inter Miami went the other way and decided to play most of their guys so that they get that cohesion towards us. Right. So it's like, which one is right, which one is wrong? We don't know. But nonetheless, I think we can all expect a battle on Wednesday more than anything. That, I think mentally the guys were checked out for this game, and Palencia kind of mentioned that last week, right? There's the mental block to playing these guys.
And again, like I'm not concerned at all with the way they did that. The way we look at Mascherano, and at some point we'll get Daniel, and I know he had to put his kids down, so I think he'll make it the last 20 minutes or so of the show. So I'll probably repeat this later on, but what Mascherano is doing reminds me of Dolo in 23, and I think it's incredibly naive because he had all of his experience was in Europe. And, if you look, for example, flying from Los Angeles to Columbus to play that final is the equivalent, it's a longer distance than flying from London to Moscow. So this just gives you the European perspective on travel. He played in Spain, what's the farthest flight in Spain is 45 minutes, like an hour. Like Spain is, I don't think it's much bigger than California,
Right.
So that's kind of like their perspective on that. Travel's not such a thing. It's like you're in the plane, you're there in 45 minutes, whatever. That first CCC, we traveled 38,000 miles in the first 4 months. And that was for Giorgio Chiellini, who played 17 years at Juventus. He traveled more in those 4 months than his entire 17 years combined at Juventus with Champions League and everything. So, and Dolo playing his entire career in Hanover, Germany, I think also a bit, that was his perspective, because, Germany's Germany is maybe it's smaller than Texas. So all of his travel as well was like
Oh, right. I see what you're
hour
saying.
and 15 minute at the most to go anywhere in the continent. You're like 2.5 hours. So I think he went into it like underestimating the grind that 38,000 miles in an airplane in that span of time does to players. And so he kind of ran them through. And I feel like Mascherano is also very naive to this. And I think in 2 years, he will take a completely different strategy with how he rotates guys in a situation like this. And I feel Dolo's learned from that mistake. And so he's not grinding his guys down. Miami, we were their first loss of the season. They were like 8 wins, 1 draw, and now they're 1 loss in all competitions, which is a crazy pace.
Yeah, they've been great, and I mean, I hope you're right. Well, we'll see which strategy pays off in the game in a couple of days. I don't like guys to be rusty, but I feel like some of them did need a little bit of break. He rested the entire midfield. You know, Igor Jesus didn't play, and he's gonna have a big taxing game this Wednesday.
He was carded, to be fair.
Right, he was carded. Right, he didn't play for that very reason, but it was good that we saw Olden Home play, and he talked after the game. We saw some new faces come in and see what that depth looked like. I'm disappointed with LAFC's depth in a year that we're fighting for a cup and multiple championships. It doesn't even look like we can do that with this particular roster. You know, blame the roster rules, blame JT's moves in letting guys go, blame the guys that didn't pan out, blame Giroud, blame whoever you want. But what I saw in the regular season, which is kind of where our depth's supposed to be, is very little creativity. Our XAs are one of the lowest I've seen over games. And our XGs, our expectation of goals throughout this season in regular season has been horrible. No one has stepped up. So I'm concerned. There's nobody that I see doing really well. We saw small amounts of flashiness from Martinez here and there, but you know, of course you saw Nathan Ordaz do something here and there as well, but not in regular season. I'm just not seeing enough of a trend with this team, and I'm starting to worry whether the coaching staff has their pulse on this team, on this particular roster, Erik. It's just not enough creativity, not enough chances created with this group. Don't you agree? Losing games is one thing, but not creating any chances and looking apathic, it's another.
No, 100%. I think
Like that.
we have a midfield problem in the team. Like that's really where our entire that's if in the triage, that's the most broken thing in our team is the midfield, and we just don't have a creative player there. We don't have the progressive passer. You know, we lost.
Delgado's our best, just to be fair on the stats.
And Delgado has he's not the guy. Even on Carson last season, Ricky Pooch is their progressive passer, and Ricky Pooch is one of the best in the league at it. You know, as much
but see what they look like without those two guys. They can't move the ball, and Rose is not the guy to do it, so they can't move the ball either.
No,
right? They have a similar problem.
Delgado's a lot like Acosta and Anthony Kay. Like he's a guy in there to do the dirty work, and if he's having a good game, you don't hear his name, you know, and that's kind of like you're not going to see him putting up the assists so much. Although he I believe had a really nice cross to Segura that almost got put in to equalize it against Houston, but you know, he can do it. Like he's a good enough player that he can do it, but he's not really supposed to be the guy for that role. But the guy for that role we don't have on the roster. You know, just period. Like we don't have a creative passer. And this is where all of our problems come because we're one-dimensional in attack. The other team knows it. They've game planned for it. And somebody's going to be a hero. And that's what we've seen with Ordaz was a hero that game. Like it's going to take heroics from one of our
hero ball.
That's it.
Individual effort. Guys creating their own shots.
Somebody beating 3 guys. Like that's
somebody beating 3 guys because you're right. And I think that's where the coaching staff has a little bit to do with it, or a lot, because it's positioning. It's getting guys on places where they're going to be open off one dribble, and also working with the guys within your roster that can produce a pass after a dribble and telling them this is what you're going to do next. And I don't see this progression with any of the young guys. Like Martinez is not throwing dimes to anyone. One of our best passers was Brian Rodriguez. He was excellent at it. Everybody gave him slack for being a bad shooter But Brian Rodriguez was an excellent assist guy for us. He was consistent, and when he found his dribbling, which was erratic to say the least, and we beat him up because that's kind of all he had at times with LAFC, right? But he would get guys open, and he would win us games, and he would get us in scoring situations more often than we're seeing right now. But right now, nobody's getting open, and it's Boanga v3 or Boanga trying to get someone, and it's not happening, and it's frustrating play. And now I think there's enough tape out there that it's just kind of how you play LAFC. This is how we counter Dolo ball.
Yeah, no, that's it 100%. So our only way to go forward is to basically play some defense and win a transition chance where we can get the ball and it's not a 1v3. We get a 1v2 or, a 2v2 and we're able to make something happen. Set pieces we haven't been great at. That's been an issue. If we had set pieces, at least that would give us something to rely on, because even with our team, how it is, like, they usually can win corners, but we just can't put the corners away has been the problem. And yeah,
it's been hard on the corners too, because the net corner difference has been bad for us. Like, we let a lot more in than we've been scoring off corners, and that's been another issue for us. The ability to generate goals off free kicks and set pieces just hasn't been there either.
Yeah, and
with this group,
you can also go like our part of it's a system, but our DP production is like we have I believe one goal from a DP all year. That's it.
Yeah, and his name is not Olivier Giroud, is he? He's not. And I've talked about our guy Boanga just really not showing up in league play. But that was it. That was Houston, and we go in there, and outside of everything, we have to understand the situation of the one game, right? You go away, you have this other big game that you're concerned about, and then you have the weather delay, which is not news to us when we go over there. And we ended up being 2 hours or an hour off kickoff, so it takes guys off their mojo and whatnot. But LAFC for the most part looked decent. Marlon started, good to see him back there, and it looked
Very
like
good.
we were doing okay up until the 55th minute and such, when then McGlynn, which was looking dangerous most of the game, with Dorsey, which seems to always have our number, found some space
Fucking
and
Dorsey,
scored
man,
against
yeah.
us, right? So it's challenging to see that we don't have answers for these things that keep harming us, and coaches like Ben Olsen seem to have our number. So for the guys that like to criticize Cherundolo, you can kind of look at the dudes that own him, and watch out. Here comes Bruce Arena. Bruce Arena looks pretty good right now with San Jose, and I don't know if we're gonna have a chance to talk about the San Jose game. Maybe we will, man. But the truth is, that's a challenging team now, and if you lose to them, you put yourself in a very tough situation. You start losing too much. At least right now, we're a mid-tier team. We're about 15th, 18th, and we'll likely make the playoffs, even if it's with a lower seed. But given that it's a best of three, no big deal, man. But you start losing too many of these games, like the hole becomes too big, and then it's all about CCC or bust, right? So let's just transition here. Is this CCC or bust for Cherundolo, though, given how bad we've been elsewhere?
Well, I mean, yes. Well, it should be, but this is MLS, and hot seats and coaches. I mean, you have to miss the playoffs like 3 years in a row before you lose your job in MLS. But
Okay.
but it should be.
But do you think the
CCC or
standards here is, sorry to cut you up, do you think the standard will be the same at LAFC that's been in a place like Sporty Kansas?
No, I think we're a little more strict. I mean, we got Hobo in the chat, and he's been dolo out like right after the championship. Like he's, and he could be vindicated. That's why we love Hobo on the show. We love all the points of view. For me, it's I mean, the regular season right now gets a complete hall pass from me as long as we're competing in CCC. If we lose to Miami, which, to be fair, Miami, I said it last show, is probably the best MLS team that's ever been put together in the 30 years of this league or 29 years of this league. I mean,
Right.
that you go up and down that roster, even the Carson teams that were winning it with Donovan, Robbie Keane, and Beckham, like this Miami team, I think can go toe to toe, if not better than. And we're talking about the all-time great MLS teams, and I think this Miami team is going to have a case of being the best ever to play. So, losing this CCC match is going to kind of have that there. Well, it's like we're playing it. We couldn't slay a giant, but at the other hand, being what are we, 9th place in the table right now in the league? Maybe worse.
West, yeah.
No,
it could be worse, and the differential to the guys up top. You go on a 3 or 5 game winning streak, you're towards the top.
Yeah,
you might not win the West. You already kissed some Supporters Shields goodbye, but the Supporters Shield is a joke. But because you're trying to play against people that you don't play. So
we're not in that race. The Supporters Shield race,
and we shouldn't be.
No. There's and we're basically already going to be out of it.
Correct.
We will go into the playoffs as a mid-table team. Maybe mid to, I think early in the season, I predicted us around 3rd in the West, 3rd, maybe 3rd to 5th. But I think the best we're going to do is 3rd in the West. And it's because we're focusing on this tournament. So, we can always have a hot run down the stretch. We'll see what the transfer window looks like in the summer, which doesn't look good. I mean, it looks really desperate. I don't know if that's on our agenda today, but if it is, our summer rumors are a complete shit show right now. So,
oh no, we should have a whole show for that because there's just so much to unpack in that. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, but
no, not so fast, my friend. Let's just
if we go through. I'll cap it. If we make it through Miami, we can lose 5-0 to San Jose for all I care. You know what I mean? Like, go as long as we're in the CCC. I don't care about the league.
I'm with you. I tweeted the same thing. As long as they're in the CCC, but we got to make sure we get through here. LAFC has an advantage, a huge advantage. We can lose literally by a goal and still qualify for this thing, which is great. And we shut them down. We had a show on Friday talking about the first leg. So if you haven't checked it out, go ahead. It's only on audio. I think it's also on Twitter because we did a Spaces and I recorded it. But you could also find us on Spotify. We put these episodes there and some of the stuff we will be doing only on X and Spaces and audio. And we did. We broke it down. We talked about how important it was that we did not concede any away goals. Nate, the great Ordaz showed up and gave us a beautiful goal. So real quick, Erik, while I'm going to fix my light once again turned to shit. But real quick while I do that, talk to us about that first leg, your impressions. You were there. I know we had the show, but maybe 2-3 minutes for everybody that didn't listen to. What are your impressions of that game and what we've done during that first leg of the CCC? Be right back.
Yeah, that game was a top 10 home game of all time for sure. It might have even been higher than that. The energy was great. So many Miami fans in there, and to have them go home without scoring, seeing their Lord and Savior Messi Christ score a goal was fantastic for me. So, watching all of those pink jerseys go home with a frown on their face made it extra enjoyable. Also, I think those of us who were there, since there was a very good amount of pink jerseys there, we were kind of extra loud and extra obnoxious in the stands. And so since all of our trash talking in the stands, we walk away with, there's nothing worse than trash talking and then losing at the end. And then you got to hang your head in your own house as people kind of mock you for being so confident in the game. So it was a great game to be at. It was a packed house, tons of energy. And man, towards the end of the game, Sergio Busquets picked up a yellow card, which could be a very big consequence in this other leg because he's suspended. So they're not going to have Sergio Busquets on the field.
Yeah, and he does make a difference in that midfield. He commands a ton of respect. I love his play, and you're right. It's a massive loss, something you picked up on it. I didn't. I'll add that we did a very good defensive job in both Messi and Suárez. It's no easy feat. I think Messi's still coming back to his form. So against half of Major League Soccer's defense, he's still gonna score and do well. Against us, he's gonna struggle, and he did. Between Igor Jesus and Marky Delgado, and even like at the end there, you saw Nathan Ordaz like shut him down on a shot. They were on him and really didn't allow him or Suárez to do much. So I was very happy to see our defensive effort. But once again, Erik, very little creativity on the other side of the ball against a team that has been exposed defensively on and off. And, we're kind of parking the bus against us, but didn't take some chances. And yet LAFC did not seem to have enough to capitalize. Although we almost did with Tillman, right? That they had the one with Falcon stopping the ball on the line. You remember that? That could have been easily 2-0 for LAFC. But overall, I think LAFC did their job. Don't you agree? Asking for more than a 1-0 goal advantage against that team is almost pie in the sky.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence if it's a result I would take going into it. They're like, oh, would you just take that? And then we go to the leg. 2-0 I would have liked a lot more, and I wish we would have hit it.
Yeah, we will blame Tillman 100% because I know people get mad at that. So, right now already, Tillman will be the culprit for not scoring that second goal and not missing Falcon. That could have easily just given us a 2-0 lead. Going to South Florida, very chill. But, man, I'll tell you, going to Columbus with a 3-goal lead did not help us at all. It looked like we were loosey-goosey. As I said, don't go loosey-goosey into the game in Columbus. And, bam, within the first 15 minutes, they scored on us. And, again, I say this probably every episode. We'll continue to say it. We will know what's going to happen within the first 20 minutes of this game. Because if LAFC come in strong defensively and holds Miami and Messi to a 0-0 game within the 30, through the first third of that game, I think the panorama, the mindset changes from Miami. Now they are concerned. Now they have to come out to the game. And that's something that I think Changes and Boanga will just thrive on, just like they did against Columbus. So I really hope, that we don't get scored on the first 15 minutes. If we do, all hell will break loose. Do you agree? I mean, I know it's almost like saying something obvious here, but can you just stress to these guys how important it is to not get scored in the first 15 minutes of this game?
Yes.
It will completely change the panoramic of this.
Yes. Anybody from LAFC who's watching this, record this right here. Boys, don't get scored on in the first 15 minutes or the game is going to get really, really tough.
Park the fucking bus and do what you got to do. Because if you don't, then it tells me that you're just not ready, right? You're not ready for the fucking moment because it just happens too many times, right? Where you have these games, you have an advantage, and you let them do what you're not supposed to let happen, right? That's a mindset, and that's talent. And there's really not much you can do about that. Real quick about the first game, Lloris gets another clean sheet. He had a couple of saves there, nothing massive. I didn't feel like Inter Miami was super dangerous during that game, but dude, the guy at BMO is becoming a threat. And I love the fact that he's so hard to score at home, right? But shout out to Lloris for one more clean sheet during that game. And the same guys are stepping out, man. Ordaz, Delgado, dudes that we didn't even think about being the ones that were going to win the game for us. We talked about Martinez being the one, but it ended up being Nathan Ordaz, the kid from Encino, and Marky Delgado with his defensive prowess, the reject from Carson. How ridiculous and funny that is that those are your unsung heroes for the first leg. Now, let's talk about the second leg. What do you think the role of these guys is going to be in the second leg? Let's start with Nathan Ordaz. Everyone's saying how good he is and whatnot. Is that magic continues, right, with Nathan? And, what is the limit for this guy? Is he going to continue to show us more, or is this, flash in the pan like they used to say, Erik?
I think Nathan Ordaz is developing into the real deal. I think he's by far our best academy player. And just if you look at him physically, how much muscle he's put on in the offseason, and he's grown a little bit. I mean, he can go toe to toe with grown men now and be physical and push them around. And this alone it creates a whole paradigm shift for how he can play. Super direct, super physical, and he's got an engine. He can run. So I do think on the other side, he's going to need to be careful. I'm sure at some point we'll get into it, but he very easily could have been showed a red card that game. I think 80% of the time, at least, that's going to be a red card and you're going to get sent off. And, that would have completely changed the game in the first 20 minutes. And so I worry that the next officiating crew that comes in is going to be a little extra picky on him. I've seen it. I don't know. I don't know what kind of agenda there is, if there is an agenda, because Miami's had some tough calls against them. So I'm kind of on the fence, like how much the officials are helping them or not. Like I think it's been pretty straight lately. So, but that's the thing to see. Like if we get an early red card and it's a nitpicky red card, it's going to be really, this is my big concern with this game, and especially with Ordaz, is that he's not going to get much slack cut for him because of the difference he made and because of that whole incident. You shake your head.
Because of the incident. Well, the incident is interesting because people are just fucking pissed at it, and I see two things. A, not enough evidence to overrule what was an unconclusive call, right? So once again, oh my God, send him away. Well, the guy just did this, and then Falcon didn't help his cause, because Falcon went bananas and just flopped. And when you flop, it seems like you're selling it. So if anything, that means simulation, which downgrades you from a red to a yellow. So I thought the referee was correct in his assessment. And let's be honest, you send Nathan Ordaz away for what it looked like an inconsequential, or at the very least, or even involuntary thing, right? You change like you said, you completely change the fortune of a final. You take all the air out of it. I see this happen in Brazil all the time. They send guys away, and then suddenly the game is over at the 20th minute. They did that at the Paulista final. So I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, sometimes you have to be strategic with these cards. You as a referee, your job is to control the game, not to destroy it, not to take control of it. The rules are there to be enforced. I get that. But referees, oftentimes, they like the authority and they lose themselves in that. Do you realize that their haircuts are better than all the players? It's because they like being the limelight. Those guys love to show the fuck up, and it's their little time to do it. And they think it's cool to do it. So they're going to show up. And unfortunately, this is data. It's mind fuck. It's everything. If you're at home, the ref will give you an advantage. It's just the way bias works. Bias, you can't measure it and you can't stop it, but bias helps the home team. So let's say we got a break. They're going to get a break this time. Maybe it's not a red card, but let's be honest. Do you really wanted a red card there for a kid against a guy that is big, twice your size?
Look, for me personally, no. I think there was a lot of hand fighting that, and I think I think it was pretty simulated. The Miami guy, he was looking for any contact. I think even looking at it, I don't think he really got elbowed. He was just kind of getting pushed, and the elbow kind of came through it and glanced. But, the defender tried to make a meal of it. But what I'm saying is, we all remember the 2020 game against Club America when Atuesta got sent off on a red card that shouldn't have happened. And we've seen red cards get pulled on players for less contact than that. It just depends, like you said, whether the ref wants to be the story or not. And unfortunately, a lot of refs want to be the story of the game. And the best referee is not mentioned at all. Like, just like when you have a good number 8 that does their job. If you don't hear their name, they're doing a great job, and the same with the official. When afterward it becomes about a call, when a call is the game, and that's the whole narrative, like, was it the right call or not? Like, the referee has done a bad job. And so in this case, he did a great job, because it basically would have ruined the entire both legs probably if we go down a man there. Like, at best, we're getting out 0-0. We're probably getting down 0-1, and all of a sudden we're chasing a game on the road in Miami with our team, with the anemic attack it has. this team cannot chase a game. And I believe the stat came up in the Houston game that LAFC has won every game they've scored first, and they haven't won any games that they were scored on first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, historically, if you look up this data, you can ask Grok, and like I think teams win like 66% of the games that they score first. So like 2 out of 3, you're gonna win, right? So you might as well fucking score first, bitch.
I asked Grok to write an Olivier Giroud poem, and it was actually pretty good.
Of course it's pretty good. It's a goddamn computer, man, and it does everything for me these days, man. AI is awesome. Like, we can have a whole show about that shit and how it's changing the world. But we're not here to talk about here. But look, there's some crazy takes here. I like this one. I think they're talking about Nathan Ordaz going to Liga MX, and I think that's a cool one. I think it's awesome that we send guys to Liga MX because that's where the money is, and the teams here get paid. They end up sucking there, like Brandon Vasquez, come back at a quarter of the price. We sign him again. It's awesome. I think Liga MX will continue to converge with MLS. It's all we have. It's the best chance we have to pop as a league is to continue to ride the coats of Liga MX and make that kind of like both of us a cohesive bunch. We don't have to be the same league. Continue to play domestically there. Continue to play domestically here. But I love these games between the two leagues. And look, whoever wins the Inter Miami games get to play against who? I see that you're trying to share some screens there, Erik. But the thing about it is like we'll likely play two Liga MX teams, right? Which I think is really cool. If we beat Inter Miami, but we got to beat these guys, man, and it's not going to be easy. We travel there. They're calling it the comeback game. They're going to be pumped for it. One more for Messi, right? Daniel called it the best roster ever assembled, which every time someone said that, they said that about LAFC the year that we were making the CCC run, and we fell on our faces to Leon. So I don't like when people say that at all because it puts too much expectation on the roster, and I didn't see that. I see a lot of failures from Miami. I see an extremely short bunch of center backs. Noah Beck is this big. Falcon is a stocky guy, but not a tall guy. So you can score within Inter Miami, and their goalkeeper's not fast. And Nate the Great showed us that in great fashion, buddy. But
yeah, their defense their defense is improved, but their defense was terrible. So it was a very low bar to improve from, which they have. But their defense is still mid.
Well, they got a Mascherano little key to it, right? They got this sweeper playing. They play a short guy in the middle. It's Mascherano like, and it's working better, and the quality of the guys is a little bit better. They might get Kevin De Bruyne now. It's just like things are happening for them, and I think it's good for us to get their roster to a point where we can beat them and say, guess what? LAFC can still beat them fair square, and I think it's probably one of the most important games of our franchise, man. If we can beat them, it's gonna be really good for our morale, for Dolo as a coach. If he loses, however, once again, that the stigma of losing the big game is gonna stay with this guy, and we're gonna have to start asking questions about whether that was, it's a good decision to keep him around much longer. Because you see what Columbus is doing; they don't miss a beat. They send players away, and they're still doing what they are doing and leading the league. I know they're not playing. See how they bounced off that, but man, that guy knows how to coach. But look, man, Erik, unless you have something else to say, I want to bring in Daniel here from Battered Herons. In fact, what's up? Daniel's back. But go ahead, Erik, if you want to finish it.
Oh, no, I was just going to warn all the season ticket holders that you need to opt out of the Metro Pass, or they're going to automatically give you the light rail card, which is, I agree with everybody that says kind of fucked up that they give us you have to opt out. Like, if you do nothing, they charge you and give you a fucking Metro Pass, like public transportation, Daniel, basically. Like, so look in your email. It hits some people's spam folder and opt out. So Chris,
it looks like we evaded that as LAFC fans, we've evaded that fare too much, and the city got pissed and said, you have to do this. That's what it sounds to me, Erik. Yeah. But we're not going to be here to talk about that. We also joined by Kris from Battered Herons, so thanks for joining, Kris and Daniel. Really appreciate you guys being here for we're talking a little bit about this second leg of the Concacaf Champions Cup between Inter Miami, which will be hosting LAFC. First leg, Daniel was here, talked a big game, as I like our guests to do, and he said that Inter Miami was going to come out of here with a win, which I didn't say anything about it because I was nervous. But I know that the only thing we have going for us right now is our home record, Daniel, and it was a pretty good one, and ended up being a 1-0 result, something we've seen here before. Daniel, I'm going to start with you, buddy. How are you feeling after this first leg? What went wrong there based on your prediction?
They refused to take what you were giving them. You were giving them the wide areas, and for some reason, they kept trying to force it up the middle. I thought at halftime that they would make that adjustment. They didn't. And I think that that's ultimately what ended up being the issue. They just couldn't break down that middle. It was just so congested, so compact in there, and they just wouldn't go out wide. They started doing it towards the end of the game, but too little, too late. And that was it. I mean, I didn't think LAFC was very impressive either. It's just they got that one goal. But LAFC also didn't look very impressive. So I feel just as confident as I did last week as about tomorrow, because I didn't think that LAFC looked very convincing, honestly. But defensively, obviously, right? That's what you guys do. And that held up well. The issue is, even if we win 2-1, you guys go on. So I think that's the biggest issue here. But, I'm not feeling too bad. We could talk about that red card in a little bit if you want.
Yeah. No, I want to ask Kris, how you feeling? First of all, welcome to Section 128. It's a pleasure you being here. You were not here last week, so I wanted to get your take on what did you think of the first leg? Were you confident going into this that LAFC was not going to be victorious in LA? And what did you think of the game?
Well, I'll tell you this much. That little home thing that you guys got going on, it's good while it lasted. Because now you're coming down south, and it's gonna be a wrap for you guys. You guys are gonna get mollywopped tomorrow. But no, all jokes aside, all right. I'll calm down, Danny. Okay, let's just get one thing out of the way.
Love it.
Biggie over Tupac, 1,000%, and that's not even up for debate.
Okay,
It is.
all right.
Come on.
We're doing this, huh? I'm glad I wear my Brazil jersey. Well, that's good.
I just want to go. I want to make sure I go there. Okay, and
are you going to be like Jay-Z over Snoop Dogg next?
Well, okay.
Well, I'd go that way also.
I would go that way. Yes, I would. Well, I mean, let's not include Diddy. Okay, let's just get that guy.
Yeah, let's steer clear of Diddy.
Diddy versus ODB.
Listen, and tomorrow's Wu-Tang Wednesday, Erik. So
I love Wu-Tang.
Yes. So let's get one thing straight.
But hey,
you guys,
ODB came from out west too. You can't have Wu-Tang without ODB. So this is like a blend.
Did he come from out west originally?
Yeah, ODB was
he's from Brooklyn. I grew up my life believing he was from Brooklyn. All right, well, back to the game.
All right, back to the game.
So what did you think, Kris? Yeah.
Sorry, I just tend to derail things at times.
I love it.
As far as the game is concerned, look, it's like what Danny just said. Yeah. As far as the game is concerned, one thing I could tell you is that we weren't really feeling nervous in terms of how LAFC was playing. In regards to like being scared, like if this was last year's LAFC, maybe I'd be a little bit more nervous. I don't know. There's just something off with LAFC. It's that you guys have not been the same. And this Gerard, like somebody put a comment up here, Gerard with a hero goal tomorrow. I'd pay to see that, because that I don't see happening. I
don't think he comes off the bench tomorrow.
Well, you can literally pay to see it, because in your state you can gamble it. So you can put a nice little layer there for a Giroud goal to win it all. And look, man, he's been horrible, but he did score a goal against Columbus in the finals of the Leagues Cup. Wasn't enough. But yeah, no, I think that ever since Giroud got here, we derailed ourselves. We had something good going on with Kai Kamara, and that man was shown the door for a French version of himself, which has not paid off. But man, look, you guys have your own 9 problems though, because Suárez, for as good as he's been, he doesn't look good. As far as what I saw against LAFC, he looked very static. He looks old. He looks injured. Are you still like all behind Suárez that he can deliver for you guys? Because I personally starting to see the end of that too.
Well, I mean, in the beginning of last season, he also had a pretty slow start. It's a matter of having a little bit of patience. Like Luis Suárez, he's had, what is it, Danny? Like 8 goal contributions at this point right now?
I'll look that up right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe it's 8 or 9 goal contributions so far this season. Like for his standards, I guess people are thinking that he's playing poorly, but he's not playing that poorly.
One thing I noticed is it was towards the end of the game, and Luis Suárez was pressing, and that guy ran like 60 yards straight at a dead sprint in like the 75th minute, and I was half expecting his knees to completely like blow up in his run, but man, I can't believe how fast that guy can move. Like I was tripping watching that.
It's 4 goals, 5 assists in all competitions so far this year.
And I remember when he was at Gremio, it was reported he was getting like injections every week in his knee.
He still is.
Like, man, I mean,
he's had a great start in regular season, and as an LAFC fan, we are ignoring regular season altogether, and not only for ourselves, but for all other teams. So I apologize for that. I only look at stats for CCC, and that's my bet on that. As far as he's one of the greatest, but we canceled it in that game, much like we canceled Lionel Messi. The two of them were pretty much canceled the whole game. Messi just looked pedestrian, got out of there faster than he could have, even said hi. Isn't it a little bit weird how they act, just so standoffish? Like, couldn't you just be out there and shook a hand and act like a regular player? Like, what's with Messi that has to run away so fast?
I want that.
I like that also. But he does do that. But when he loses,
it's a loss.
I like that he cares. Yeah, when he loses, like how he changes jerseys at the end of the game. He exchanges jerseys and all that. After a loss, he's walking straight off the pitch. He
went straight out.
And I love that. I love that he cares. That he's not just laughing it up after the game, like you guys got us this time. We'll see what happens. No, he gets upset when he loses. So I like that. I like that, and I get why you're saying that. You wish he would be more friendly, but as a fan of the team that he's playing for, I like that he cares. That game against Toronto this past weekend, it's what, like the 6th regular season game for us? Like, what does it really matter? It's a draw, but he was pissed. He was pissed when he finally scored a goal. You could see his reaction that he was really pumped that he finally got one in. So I like that he cares. He's not like Higuain and Giroud that came here to smoke a cigar, whatever the hell it is that they said. Like, Messi's here to win, and I like that. I like that he gets frustrated when they lose.
Chris,
and I'll tell you, I was going to mention the same thing about Toronto. I mean, we tied against Toronto, and he didn't want to look at anybody walking off the field. I'll tell you this much: I'm an old school fan guy, like old school sports type of guy. I don't want anybody being friends on the field, on the court, anywhere. So, like, don't say hi, don't shake my hand. I don't want hugs. Like, I want people wanting to punch each other in the face. You guys if you want a handshake line, go watch Little League or something like that, and you'll get a handshake line any day of the week. But in professional sports, I'd rather have Messi come off really upset, especially considering that we still have a second leg to play tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I feel the same.
It's like unfinished business.
Maybe after tomorrow.
Yes, after tomorrow, yes. I could see that.
The series is over.
One question I got on this is and I talked about before in the show before you guys were here. I saw very similar when Cherundolo first got here, coming from Europe. Our CCL run in 2023, he basically ran his best 11 all regular season, all of the competitions. He didn't really do any rotations at all. Mascherano coming here, I kind of said the same thing as we were mentioning. Like, for example, going from LA to Columbus for the final is a farther flight than from London to Moscow, and I think their distances are so small. All their flights are like an hour at the most. It's not like they're sitting going to Central America or anything like that. Do you think Mascherano is maybe being a bit naive by not rotating a little bit more and prioritizing, or what do you think?
We had that conversation yesterday on our show about how we wish that he might have done that a little more. We understand Busquets because he can't play tomorrow. He's suspended. But Messi running out there 90 plus minutes. Yeah, he played 90 plus minutes. But the thing is, when we bring this up for Messi, everybody's like, well, he kind of walks the majority of the game, right?
He does.
He picks and chooses when he makes his runs. So I'm sure he feels great. But Jordi Alba, for example, Jordi Alba shouldn't be running out there 90 minutes. Jordi Alba hauls ass up and down that pitch all game long. So we felt like Jordi Alba. Suárez got taken off early, but maybe if Obando was going to come in, just keep Suárez on the bench. We've questioned that quite a bit because there isn't much rotation with this Miami squad. 10 games in, all competitions, and we haven't seen much rotation at all.
Well, it looks like they're built for it, man. Like, and I think Mascherano kind of realizing this, that you don't have a lot of depth in MLS, and if you do what Cherundolo is doing, you see what you're risking. You're risking really putting yourself in a really tough situation in league play, and for what? So I get it, man. Like it's give or take. Hey, talk to us a little bit about Busquets not being there, because he's such a maestro in the midfield, a commanding player, but he's also not the same player that he once was, and you still have Messi, Suárez, and so many other guys. Is he a key component of the midfield? And who do you play in his absence, and what is the impact of that?
Well, before I answer that, I analyze everything. Erik, you have a glass bottle Coca-Cola. How delicious is that right there?
Oh man. I hope to God that there's no tariffs put on this coming from Mexico, because
well, we better hope again.
They're already expensive enough.
Yes. You got to be careful. Chris will throw off the show every 5 minutes.
Listen, I'm getting trapped in the chat. Your guy Juan Vargas.
It's fine. We need it.
Oh,
Juan Vargas lost me, but then got me back because he brought up. Yeah, he lost me because he's talking about the Yankees. Like, the Yankees have 27 championships. No, what are we talking about here? And then he won me back with the Bing Bong. So let's go Knicks. Okay.
Juan is he is the meme god on Twitter. Like, he does the best LAFC memes. He's a good follow.
Shout out to Juan. Now, getting back to soccer talk or football talk, as far as the loss of Busquets, the biggest thing we lose is right here. And for those of you on audio, it's the brain. It's not so much the physical play. Now, he is sort of the mastermind behind everything. We lose him. We have Federico Redondo, who can possibly fill in his shoes in terms of his progressive play. And it helps that Yannick Bright is such a defensive-minded midfielder, so it gives us that balance. The only thing that kind of sucks is that as of recently, we haven't seen such great play out of the two together. So this could be potentially a game, like basically a changing game for Federico Redondo, depending on how this pans out. It could pan out to be the best showing for him, or it can be a complete, utter disaster, which I'm hoping for the former, not the latter.
Do you think tactically they're
the latter, not the former?
Are they going to need to make tactical adjustments? Do you think they'll play like a little more direct than usual without Busquets on the field?
I think they're going to rely a little more on Jordi Alba coming down the left side. Like I said, you guys were giving us the wide areas. And how do you break down a compact defense? You go wide and you take shots from outside the box. They didn't do either one of those two things in the first game. Not last night, 2 nights ago against Toronto, they were taking shots from outside. You had center backs taking shots from outside the box. Yeah. So they're gearing up to break down this compact defense. So I think they're going to look a lot more different and attack this game differently than they did that first leg. Now, will it work? I don't know, because no matter how you attack a low block, it's difficult to get through. And if you have to get through twice, and if you guys score once, you have to get through 3 times. It's not going to be easy scoring on a dolo ball defense 3 times in one game, especially when you guys are protecting leads. So
Hugo Lloris as well. I think Hugo Lloris is not talked about enough this year. He just hit his 7th clean sheet of the season, like 7. He is a fucking maniac back there.
Well, your best chance is scoring early. Do you think it's really about scoring early though? If you take that goal away within the first 15 minutes, which happened in Columbus, I told Erik, hope you don't get scored early. Boom, they get scored early, right? So
it's critical.
To state the obvious, right? Yeah. It's kind of the critical moment of the game. If this game is 0-0 within 30 minutes, now you have 1 hour to score 2 goals in dolo ball. That's when the panic button. I think that's where
if we get to one,
really gonna hurt.
Right, we could, as long as we get one, we're comfortable. Because if the game ends 1-0, then we got to go to extra time, and it's a level playing field again. My fear is that somehow LAFC ends up in the back of the net early, because all of a sudden you got to score 3 goals, and you got
the tide has turned.
And you guys are like, you know what, we're just going to defend for our lives. So what worries me is that you guys will somehow on a transition at some point score a goal early. I think that completely throws everything out of whack.
We did get
deep, or you press as LAFC, and that can be a question for any of the three of them.
Well, we did to that. Like I was saying, our statistic this year, we have won every game we have scored first. We have lost every game that the opponent scored first this season. That's our statistics this season. The one good thing is we did have Marlon Santos come back from injury and played 90 in Houston, and that guy is probably one of the top center backs in the league. He's only here because he failed 2 physicals. He failed a physical in Saudi Arabia. Before that, he failed a physical in the Premier League, and so we have basically a Premier League level Brazilian center back that just can't pass a physical to sign with teams, and that's why he's here. So, that's kind of our ace in the hole. We'll see what happens, man. It's going to be a stress tomorrow.
Don't sell so short.
Stress.
Well, I'll tell you.
Tomorrow doesn't even start. By the way, Marlon Jordy exchanged shirts, and if you don't like guys that are like party dudes after, he's not your dude. He was high-fiving every Inter Miami player, and because he's a Barcelona dude, and he spent time at Barcelona, he hugged Mascherano. That motherfucker was all over the place.
But Messi wasn't anywhere to be found.
No, Messi was already back in the locker,
Messi was
pissed about it. But Marlon's like the opposite of
Chris.
Messi,
what you got, Chris?
I was gonna mention something, because the issue is that there's I don't think that there's a heavy sort of optimism from either side of the fence, considering how, I don't want to say terrible, but how poorly our teams performed before this game. You guys lost to Houston. We tied against Toronto. Like, those aren't really great positions to be coming from.
Yeah, but LAFC actually rotated their roster. I mean, they literally started Giroud. If you start Giroud, that's rotation.
Yeah,
maybe Mascherano said, guys, go in there, but go 60%. You know what I mean? Maybe Mascherano already said.
We had a academy guy starting, and we had a center back playing out of position as a right back.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. We had Tafari on the right, so everything was kind of messed up. And who cares about the weekend game, because we know it's about this elimination.
I know,
right, guys?
I know these guys got the Battered Herons show.
You guys are coming out.
Jump in, but we should do some score predictions and wrap it up. So those guys everybody here jump over to the Battered Herons after, and we'll.
Ooh, yes, back to
and
back.
If Juan Vargas is still here, put your Twitter handle on there, because I'm trying to follow you since.
A good Juan.
A good one.
It's a really good account to follow. But score predictions, and please, someone from your camp gives us a lineup that we can stick with. My assumption is the same, but Redondo in the middle. But go ahead and walk me through what you think the game's gonna be like, and your scores, and who starts this puppy on Wednesday. Tomorrow.
Okay, I'll start. I think we're gonna win 2-0. I think it's going to be we score early, first 15 minutes, to kind of ease the pressure. And LAFC has to kind of force the issue a little bit towards the end of the game to open up a little bit to try to go for the win. And I think that's when we eventually get our second. And no surprises in what we're going to bring out. We're going to bring out our best 11, which is basically what you saw, minus Busquets, but we're going to have Redondo back there. And it's going to be an interesting, stressful game. But I think that we come out on top. Now, I will tell you that it would be absolutely heartbreaking to be winning 2-0 and you guys somehow get a late goal and then you lose the game 2-1, but then you move on. Crushing. But I can't imagine this team getting knocked out in the quarterfinals. Could it happen? Obviously. But I just can't imagine this Inter Miami team getting knocked out this early.
Now, I don't know if you mentioned it, Danny, but one thing that I wanted to mention was, if Tadeo Allende, our right winger who played with us and was a monster in the beginning of the season, comes back from his calf injury or whatever he has, then it's going to create a lot of problems for you guys. Because if there's anybody that makes the line-breaking plays that we need, it's him. And like Danny mentioned, I think it's going to be about the same. If it's not Fafa, it'll be Allende. And then, of course, Busquets is not going to be in place, so it'll be Redondo in place. I actually think that it's going to be 3-1. That's going to be my prediction. 3-1 Inter Miami wins.
3-1. So that extra goal.
I can't see us scoring 3 against LAFC, man.
No, it can happen because it's a house of cards, and I see it. I see if things start going bad, it's really gonna go bad. Eric,
if we
I
get
want to
the
hear.
goal,
Hold on. Yes,
if we
go
get
ahead,
the goal,
Kris.
if we get a goal within 10-15 minutes, like the tide is going to completely turn, and we're going to have so much momentum off of that. I really don't think that you guys will be able to recover. It all depends on who's going to control the game within the first 20 minutes, in my opinion.
Yeah. So for me, my starting lineup is going to basically be Hollingshead on the left, who rested. It's going to be, this is where it gets tricky. Aaron Long for sure, because he
Aaron
rested.
Long.
And I want to say it's Segura again.
Segura will play 100%.
And then it's going to be Palencia on the right side, who also rested. I mean, most of our back line rested against Houston. Mm-hmm. The midfield is going to be Tillman, Igor Jesus, who had the best game of his career with the biggest light. And if he can play another game like that, I mean, man, that kid's going to be leaving MLS soon. And then Marky Delgado in the front is going to be Nathan Ordaz, Buwanga, and Martinez. And as I said earlier, I think Ordaz is going to have
no wonder.
No, I guess Martinez started. Maybe they do go with under, but I'd rather see Martinez. Yeah, you're right. It'll probably be under, and Martinez will come in after.
I'm not gonna put 2 DPs in the bench.
Yeah, and I think Ordaz is going to have to be extra careful on this game because I think he got very, very lucky the last game. Whether that should be a red card with the fighting is up for debate, but generally refs will give that red card more often than not by far. So I think he got lucky with that. And I think that in the last game will be taken into consideration with anything he does on this game. So I think he'll be on a really short leash and he's going to have to be very, very careful, or that kind of makeup call, if you'll have it, will come. As far as the score, if Miami scores first, if we win this, we're going to win it 0-0, and it's going to be a fucking nail biter the entire way through it. And I think if Miami gets an early goal, I think we're probably not going to be able to overcome it. But I do think it'll take all the way to extra time to get that second goal, and I think it'll come in extra time. But I'm believing in a 0-0 right now, draw, and we go through.
Bam. There it is. 0-0. For me, I'm going to go with a 1-1 and a painful one where Inter Miami will score, forcing extras, and then LAFC will draw it, and it will end like that. So that's my prediction. LAFC sneaks by, sneaks through to play whoever comes out of that Liga MX bracket, which is probably going to be two Liga MX games in order to win this tournament. So it's not easy at all. Whoever comes out of this game has their hands full, because you have to go to Mexico twice and play rosters that are going to be way better
or
than
Vancouver.
What you're currently playing. Oh, fuck that. They're gonna bounce because they already got scored once at home, and there's no fucking way that they're gonna win in Mexico. No way, Eric. Don't even fucking start with me in this Canadian shit here. But anyways, this has been a great show, guys. I appreciate y'all stopping by, and I know you have another place to be, so thank you again. If you don't follow us on Twitter, please do hit the subscribe button. We're here every Monday at 5. Today we did it Tuesday. First of all, Eric was a little bit busy yesterday. I was feeling like ass, to be honest, so this was great. Plus, we have a big game tomorrow, so I think it's a little bit more relevant that we have this one day before. Eric, you want to say something? You kind of like have your mouth going like,
yes,
like you want to say it. Go ahead.
Daniel, Kris, I know I've plugged your show already, but you guys plug your show properly.
Oh, okay. Battered Herons, we come on 4 to 5 times a week. We do post games and we do previews. And then we do, if you're interested in Miami and you speak Spanish, do Las Garzas, Mondays nights at 10 o'clock in Spanish. And then we do Battered MLS Fans. We do that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights. Eric's been on there a few times when we do our roundtable episodes on Wednesdays. And then we do a recap on Tuesdays and a prediction show on Thursday. So we're pretty active on here.
Very cool, guys. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. Thank you so much for being here. And you're welcome anytime And made the best team wins. It's a spectacle. It puts our soccer league in the eyes of everybody around the world, whether it's Brazil, Europe. Everyone's watching this and they want to know what's going to happen. So let's give them the game and a show that they deserve. CONCACAF, baby. Here we go.
There we go.